Hello students, welcome you all for the Math Inquiry Learning Journey by the Gym Foundation. Here we will see some simple ideas to make kids think and understand the math in a better way and answer those curious questions you have with different math concepts. So in this video, we are going to see about the very interesting questions that you may all have on why negative integer into a negative integer results in a positive integer. Right? Negative into negative is positive, and you have already been learning about this, that this is how it is. But if you are interested to know why negative into negative is a positive and how I can understand it better, then watch this video in detail where we are going to use some simple modeling using counters or small grains or any bits of papers that you have. For example, an yellow paper which represents positive counter and red paper which expresses kind of represents the negative counters or the negative integers. So are you ready? And before we start working with these counters and directly tell about the negative times negative is positive, we may need to understand a small activities on how to work with these counters and understand the addition, subtraction, and then come to multiplication. So let's go ahead and do with the arithmetic operations first. So how do we start with this first activity on representing yellow counters for yellow bits of paper, for example, as the positive counters, and red papers for the negative counters. So now, can you represent using the yellow bits of paper or the counters that you have to represent the number 3? You count 3. So how do you do it? Basically, you will just have some 3 bits of paper and this represents 3, right? This is the basics of counting. So now, can you arrange this in a way that you represent addition? For example, you have 1 and your mother gave 2 counters. So totally now how many are there? So you would model this as a counter telling this is 1 plus 2 and that is 3, right? So the 3 you can model. So this is a basic modeling of a addition of two positive counters. Now you can try doing this again. For example, 3 plus 2 plus 7. You can actually count in different ways, right? So you can count 3 plus 2 plus 7 as 2 plus 3 plus 7 or 7 plus 2 plus 3, right? And do you recollect what is the property of addition that we are trying to understand with this simple activity of changing the different ways of addition? Think for a while and you can figure it out that it is nothing but you change these two numbers, and that is called commutative property of addition, where you change the different orders you're adding and it will be same the result. And also associative property of grouping different numbers and still the sum remains the same. So you can observe two different properties, associative and commutative. So in this activity, we have tried modeling only two positive counters. And what are we going to do next is model negative numbers and then using addition and subtraction. So for modeling using negative integers, you take some red bits of paper or red color or any grain which represents red. Now, how do you use red counters to represent -2? So which means one red is 1 minus 1 and this is -2. How to do -5? Yeah, I have 5 reds, which is -5. Okay, now how do you arrange the counters so that you represent -5 using addition? Okay, so how did we do with the addition? The same way with for positive integers, we'll do it for the negative integers. So 2 plus 3 or 1 plus 4, right? So it can be anything like this. So you can say this is -2 plus -3 is -5 and -1 plus -4 is -5, right? So now take some time and do with your bits of paper all these three numbers. Do you think addition of negative numbers can have also confirm commutative property? Yes. You can say either this is -2 plus 3, -2 plus -3 or -3 plus -2. Both will result in commutative. Yes. So it adheres commutative property and associative property also. How? You can try it. So if you want to add 5, you can actually do -1, 2 and 2. So either you can group -1 plus -2 and then add -2, or you can group -1 and then you can group the other -2 separately, like -1, -2, -2, which is -4, and then you can add. So associative property also works with the negative integer addition. Yeah, so these two properties you can mark it as the important points in the math journal, where it says addition of negative numbers and positive numbers both uh, satisfies commutative and associative property, and the negative numbers can also be grouped in different ways. And importantly, you understood that negative numbers can be added very similar to positive numbers just by adding the absolute value. Absolute value meaning the number without the sign. For example, the absolute value of -3, it's represented with two lines on either side of the number, is 3. So absolute value corresponds to the value alone of that number and not the sign of the number. So you add both the numbers absolute value and put the sign which is negative, and in the case of positive numbers put the sign which is positive. So in this video we have understood how to add two positive integers or two negative integers using simple counters, and in the next coming videos you will see how to add different numbers in counting. Stay tuned.